Part 1. The Shattering. The first text that ruined my life wasn't from my fiancé. It was a photo from my best friend, Chloe. And Mark, my fiancé, was in it. Not just in it, he was shirtless, sleeping in our bed, the one we'd picked out together. The caption read, "Mornings after are the best part, wink." The world didn't tilt, it cracked open. I stood in our pristine, minimalist apartment, the one I designed, and felt the foundations crumble. It wasn't a one-time mistake. The thread of messages was a graphic, humiliating novel of their months-long affair, happening in the shadows of our wedding planning. My stomach twisted, a cold sweat beading on my skin. But then a terrifying calm washed over the panic. I wouldn't scream. I wouldn't cry. I would incinerate his entire world, and I knew exactly how. I would use the one man he was secretly, pathetically intimidated by. Damien Thorne, his ruthless, unapologetic business rival. Part 2. The Hunt. 1 week later, I was a vision in crimson silk at the charity gala Mark had begged me to attend with him. I came alone. The air was thick with money and whispered deals. And then I saw him, Damien Thorne. He stood apart, a still point in the swirling crowd. He wasn't classically handsome, but his presence was a physical force, intense, magnetic, and dangerous. Our eyes met across the room, and his gaze wasn't curious. It was predatory, knowing, as if he'd been waiting for me. I crossed the floor, my heart a drum against my ribs. "Mr. Thorne," he said, my name low rumble. "The architect, I've seen your work, brutalist, but with a surprising warmth." I said, "My fiancé thinks you're a monster who plays dirty." A slow, dark smile touched his lips. "And what do you think?" I leaned in, the scent of his cologne, sandaled wood, and stormy air wrapping around me. "I think he's scared of you." I let my gaze drop to his mouth for a heartbeat. I'm not. Part 3. The Volatile Bargain. His penthouse was a glass and steel fortress overlooking the city. It was him, all sharp angles and uncompromising power. "Let's be clear, Elena. You want to use me to punish your boy. Why should I be your weapon?" "I'm not asking you to be a weapon," I countered, taking the glass, our fingers brushing. A jolt of electricity shut up my arm. I closed the distance until the heat from his body was a palpable force. His eyes darkened, roaming over my face, my lips, the pulse hammering in my throat. He saw right through me, and he was utterly captivated by the view. He set his glass down with a definitive click. "Then let's make it convincing." Part 4. The First Night, Reclaiming Power. The moment his penthouse door clicked shut, the carefully constructed control we'd both worn shattered. It wasn't an embrace. It was a surrender to a storm. His mouth found mine not with gentleness, but with the claiming hunger that mirrored the fury in my own soul. Buttons didn't unfasten, they were torn. Fabric gave way not to caresses, but to desperate, grasping hands. This was no lovemaking. It was a battle, and we were both determined to win. Every touch was a brand, searing away Mark's memory. Every gasp was a rebellion. When he pinned my wrist above my head, it wasn't about restraint. It was an anchor in my hurricane of rage and pain. I was using him, but in that moment, my body arcing against his, the raw, unfiltered moan ripped from my throat was the most terrifyingly real thing I'd felt in years. The world didn't shatter. It dissolved into a supernova of pure, white-hot sensation. And in the silent, breathless aftermath, as I lay tangled with him, our skin slick and hearts pounding a frantic, synchronized rhythm, I realized the terrifying truth. The revenge had been for me, but the pleasure, that had been all for him. Yeah, that just happened. If you're hooked on this kind of dangerous, high-stakes romance, subscribe for more stories where the line between revenge and desire gets completely obliterated. Part 5. The Blurred Lines and Fallout. What began as a transaction became an addiction. Our encounters were just as volatile, but the anger slowly bled away, replaced by a different kind of more dangerous heat. We started talking. He told me about the company he built from nothing. I saw the man behind the myth, a man of fierce intelligence and a surprising dry wit. I caught myself thinking about him when he wasn't there, craving the sound of his voice. The confrontation happened at a restaurant. Mark and Chloe, draped over each other, froze when they saw us. Damien's arm was around my waist, a gesture of pure, unapologetic possession. Mark's face went from shock to purple-faced rage. You with him? I simply smiled, calm and powerful beside Damien. Some monsters are far more honest than the heroes they're painted against. Later, in his penthouse, I stood looking at the city lights. He came up behind me, his hands resting on my hips, a gesture that was now familiar and deeply wanted. I went looking for revenge in the arms of a monster, but the monster held me while I put myself back together. And I realized I wasn't in his arms to destroy my old life anymore. I was here to build a new one, and God help me. I wanted to build it with him.